Hello there, fellow MCs. I am Scythe, and today we're continuing Everlasting Summer, the Miku path. And here's the thing, we're stuck in a horror movie, or something like that. It was supposed to be a sweet little movie, but it turns out that we are stuck in a horror scenario where everyone has disappeared, and the few of us that did not disappear are, well, I can only assume we're being killed off one by one. We just walked past Alyssa hanging from a tree, tied to a bunch of neckerchiefs. And the only thing we know about that is that there is no way that she did it to herself. Now, we have to escape and try and find our way out of here. So yeah, let's see if we manage to do that. Let's go. So, where are we going? Asked Masha, wiping her tears. Okay, we already tried going to the right. Let's go to the left. And also, there's a big possibility that you will hear a lot of whining from the wind outside. It's been windy like this for about 2 weeks, so hopefully it gives us a bit of ambiance instead of being annoying, you know? But there's no town there. And just a couple of days ago there was no camp to the right. Maybe we shouldn't... Lena sulked quietly. We have no choice. I won't stay here any longer. We were just about to get moving when we heard noises approaching us from far away. Ooh. I strained my eyes and got a glimpse of someone coming here down the road. A bus! Exclaimed Rowder with joy in his voice. Shut up, you fool! That's not a bus! People are approaching! I hissed at him. Lots of people, said Masha anxiously. It was utterly clear that we shouldn't stay here any longer. I turned around and saw someone approaching us down the road from the other direction too. The crickets are really weird now, but from both directions. The noise was getting louder. It's chirping of grasshoppers, although not their usual one. Much louder, distorted version, as if it had been passed through a guitar amplifier. Oh, run! I shouted, but nobody moved. Oh, screw it! I grabbed Masha and Lena's hands and darted off back into the camp. The girls were floundering in a stupor, so I ended up literally dragging them along. Having dashed to the square, I stopped to catch some breath, and only then did I realize that Rowder had been left behind. We have to go back to get him! Masha screamed and shifted towards the bus stop. Are you nuts? I pulled her hand and forced her to stop. You want us all to meet the same fate? Lena was trembling so wildly that I felt my right hand shaking as it held hers. Keep running! Where to? Don't know! Into the woods! Returning to Olga Dmitrievna's cabin wasn't an option. My self-preservation instinct also suggested that we shouldn't stay in the open area as well. We dashed towards the woods. I held the girl's hands tightly. They ran with difficulty, especially Lena, who was swaying when weaving. She fell a few times, but I quickly picked her up, spurring her on with shouts and dragged her on. Passing through the trees was the hardest part. It's really unfortunate that we see the white borders here. It really could have been an easy fix if they made the picture a bit bigger. Maybe my screen is too big though. Though the full moon was shining up in the sky, in the dark I was still constantly running into snags, branches falling into pits. Nettles were slashing my legs and leaves were hitting me in the face, leaving painful scratches. My heart was pounding heavily. Every breath I took whistled painfully in my lungs. The blood was pounding so heavily in my head that it seemed like my skull was ready to burst from the pressure any moment. I stopped feeling my body. My legs carried me forward by themselves. At last we ran into a clearing and stopped. Exhausted, the girls fell to the ground and I sat on a fallen tree. Who were they? People, or demons, or something else? And where was the chirping sound coming from? I couldn't make them out in the twilight, but that was probably for the best. After I slightly recovered my senses, I walked up to the girls. Lena was lying dead white on the ground, seemed like she'd completely lost it. Masha was sitting, hugging her knees and rocking from side to side. We've got to do something, I said as I sat near her. It's too late, we're gonna die, she whispered in a hollow voice. We're still alive, that means there's still hope. No, it's nothing now. It's all over. I put my arms around her and held her tight. No, it's not. So how about Lena? She just bundled up crying. I sat staring into the darkness of the forest. The grasshoppers could barely be heard now. If not for Masha's labored breathing, I would think I was dead. Forgive me, she whispered quietly. For what? For everything, for me being like that. For whatever we failed to achieve. It's not the right time for that now. I said tenderly. We don't have much time left, so I'd say it's the right time. She looked at me and faintly smiled. Forgive me. If only I hadn't been so selfish in the first place. I looked into her eyes, her bottomless, sorrowful eyes, and I felt a hot tear crossing my cheek. No, it's me who should be sorry. I was totally ignorant of what to say in such a situation. I did so much wrong to her, caused her so much pain, and now, at the last minute, I can't think of anything other than an empty, I'm sorry. I was overwhelmed with anger at my helplessness, at being unable to protect the only person I held dear. You know, I always loved you. I know, she said quietly. Masha smiled again, although her face was trembling and tears were running down her cheeks. And I still love you. I know. I couldn't stand it. I longed to turn away, to close my eyes. But I can't afford weakness at this last minute. I leaned down and kissed her hard. Time stood still for us. This cursed pioneer camp, the dark night, all those hellspawn and even the bloody grasshoppers just ceased to exist. The whole universe ceased to exist. Just two of us that were left. Just when I was almost willing to believe that it was all just a bad dream, the woods came alive with rustling. The foliage far away quivered and a swarm of vague silhouettes emerged from the darkness. Oh no. I still couldn't make them out, but I was certain that they are the same creature that we'd seen at the bus stop. My whole body was stricken with dismay. I was afraid to breathe. So, this is how it ends, said Masha quietly and held me tighter. No, this is not the end. Suddenly I realized that I will fight for her till the last drop of my blood. As long as there is a slightest chance of survival. I jumped up, tugged her off the ground and rushed over to Lena. She was lying deathly pale, with her eyes open, and she didn't seem to understand what was happening at all. I started shaking her by the shoulders. Get up! There was no reaction. I gave her a few slaps and she let out a dull moan. Get up. Now! As I roused Lena, she stared at me with a spaced out look. Let's run. I grabbed the girls by their hands and I rushed aimlessly. The further from them, the better. I was stumbling down, getting up again, helping Lena and Masha to get up too, hewing through the dense foliage. Eventually the noise faded, leaving us with only the quiet chirping of grasshoppers. The light flickered in the distance. Soon enough, we came out into a small clearing, completely sheltered by the trees. There was a building that somehow looked like a kindergarten. What is that? I stammered. The building of the old camp, said Lena faintly. It seems that she was slowly coming back to her senses. I stopped, hesitating. Sure, it was quite naive to think that we can find shelter there. It was obvious that we can't be secure anywhere with all the stuff that's happening. On the other hand, we were on the verge of collapsing. Especially the girls. I took a few hesitant steps towards the building when the rustling from behind reached my ears. I froze in my tracks, unable to turn around. The rustling was growing louder, and suddenly we heard the diabolical chirping. Ah! I do recognize this image, but that fucking scared me though. I forced myself with a superhuman effort and turned around. A crowd was behind me. A crowd of little girls. Or rather, a crowd of Ulianas. They were all exactly the same as that Uliana I saw this morning. with the same torn face and horribly distorted smile. And all of them made the same hellish sound, the chirping of grasshoppers, a diabolical noise that chilled my heart. We froze where we stood, unable to take even a single step away. Oh, that is a router. All of a sudden, one of the lianas came forward from the crowd and pulled the severed head of Router from behind her back. A grimace of horror was permanently frozen on his face. I almost fainted as she started to talk. Hi there, Semyon. How are you doing? Her voice felt like a bullet piercing right through my brain. I screamed and fled towards the old camp building, dragging the girls along. I must admit that back then I had completely stopped thinking of Masha or Lena. Maybe they were also screaming, maybe they were shackled by horror. I do not know. The most important thing now is to get as far away as possible from these monsters. We flew into the building, and immediately the ground disappeared under our feet and fell into the darkness. So not a hatch, but the entire floor caved in. I awoke in complete darkness. My whole body ached, especially my legs, but somehow I still managed to get up, leaning against the wall. The sound of the lianas was nowhere to be heard, which calmed me down a little. I called out in a thin voice. Masha! Lena! I heard a movement nearby and felt someone gripping my leg. I instantly jumped back, but at the same moment a faint voice came from below. Are we still alive? Seems like it. I helped Masha get up. Suddenly a bright light fired up a couple of meters away from me. I leaned against the wall trembling, but immediately realized that it was Lena who had turned on a flashlight. Where did that come from? Where did you get that? Lena came closer, limping. I took it just in case, yesterday. I took the flashlight from her and shone it around. We were in some kind of tunnel. The walls were lined with wires, unlit lamps were hanging from the ceiling. Where are we? I don't know. Looks like some kind of bomb shelter. I looked up and saw a pretty formidable hole, beyond which one could barely make out the hallway of the old camp building. The floor had probably rotted with age, and we fell down here. At first glance there was no way to climb back, too high, and there is nothing to grab. So what is there? Go further? I asked, not really expecting an answer. I don't know, but we'll have to check. I shone the flashlight ahead of us and took a few uncertain steps. My whole body was covered in bruises and scratches, but I could still walk. Ouch! Lena cried out behind me. What is it? I think I sprained my ankle. I was honestly expecting the next line to be something cliched like, leave me behind, I'll only be a burden. But of course she could never say that. Okay, lean on me. I went over to Lena and offered her my shoulder. Soon enough the stone wall gave way to a wooden ones and we ended up in some sort of mine. And this is where we were walking around until we woke up on the bus. I wonder if there's gonna be a memory of that somehow. Let's have a break, Masha begged. I carefully lowered Lena to the ground and sat down nearby. Well, at least those monsters are nowhere to be seen. But for how long? I sighed heavily and closed my eyes. What do you think is going on here? Masha's voice was trembling, but she still sounded more or less confident. Looks like she is so exhausted and devastated that there is just no strength left for fear. I don't know, and honestly, I don't want to know. But we're gonna get out? Definitely. I couldn't see her face, but I was sure that she was smiling. Suddenly the flashlight blinked and went out. Well, shit. I hit it with my palm several times. The mine walls lit up with a dim light once again, and immediately realized that something was wrong. Lena was nowhere to be found. Lena's disappeared, I whispered. What? Masha grabbed me by the sleeve and stared at the spot where Lena had been sitting a moment ago. How? But how? She started to cry quietly. We will die. We will definitely die. I also very much wanted to burst into tears. Darkness surrounded us all around, closing in. The flashlight was gradually dying, and with it, our chances of survival. Get up. Time to go. The battery will die soon. A couple of minutes later, we came to a fork. What the hell? Is this some kind of a labyrinth too? I hissed under my breath. Let's go back, maybe. No, no way. Masha pressed against me even harder. Where to then? I don't know, but we had to choose anyway. And I decided to go right. Right, okay. We've been going left all this time. Soon we came to another fork. Where to now? Let's stick to the direction we chose before. The right? We had been wandering for too long. We had neither strength nor the will left to move on. I was so terribly thirsty I was ready to lick the moisture off the walls. Let's sit just a little. A bit. We can't. We must keep moving. Just a minute. Masha begged in anguish. Fine. She lowered her head onto my shoulder. Her flashlight was blinking more and more often, so I decided to turn it off for now, to save the battery. This is it. Is this it? I don't know how much time passed. I desperately wanted to sleep. My eyes were closing by themselves. How did we first meet? That was so long ago. Do you remember? I asked in a whisper. What? Masha's voice was trembling. How we met? Yes. She tried to laugh but immediately began to cough. I will sleep for a while, okay? Oh, don't fall asleep in the oxygen-deprived mine, you know? Just for a while, or you will sleep through the whole day again. Well, but you will wake me up. Of course. I kissed her and closed my eyes. Oblivion was getting closer, but I didn't care. I was transported back in time to that very day. Something is happening to the sound. My whole body was aching. Perhaps my brain couldn't rest peacefully because it was distracted by thousands of signals from my nerve endings. Somehow, I rose up and woke Masha. After all, we were planning to survive. How long have I been in this mine? Fork after fork, tunnel after tunnel. Masha was whispering something all the time. To the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. It seems that I won't be able to handle even one more turn. Yeah, so I don't know if I showed this, but there are 2 secret places you can get to. They don't actually do anything, but yeah, they exist. But suddenly the flashlight highlighted a tight passage in the darkness, and soon we found ourselves in an open chamber. Look! Masha was pointing somewhere into the darkness. I flashed a light there and saw a neckerchief lying on the ground. This is not... No. Let's go. Oh, we just made it through. Okay. At last we got out of the labyrinth and found ourselves in a small room. There was broken bottles all over the floor, pipes stretched along the walls, and at the end of them were rusted valves. A mess of graffiti was scrawled all over the walls. At least it's a change of scenery, I sighed. The flashlight had almost died and I had to shake it up every 10 seconds to slightly recover the battery. Exhausted, Masha dropped to the floor. We can't stop. I'm sure there is an exit somewhere here. How do you know? I looked at her. She obviously had no energy anymore. Masha was struggling with her exhaustion and could lose consciousness any second. I just know it. I smiled, trying to look encouraging. Well, if so... She leaned against the wall and stood up hardly. Sit here for now. I will see what is further on. I'm afraid. Masha trembled. I'm not going far. She raised her eyes to me, full of hope, and nodded almost imperceptibly. I looked around and noticed a heavy iron door. My attempts to open it came to nothing. It was completely rusted shut. I wish that pipe was here now. But there was no other choice. I braced my legs to the wall and threw all my weight against the handle. My muscles bulged, my forehead was awash with sweat, my vision darkened. But the door didn't budge, it just gave off a hollow rattle. It's alright. Wait a second. I shouted over to Masha, gasping for breath. I need to find some kind of stick. I ran over to Masha, bent down and smiled. There's definitely an exit behind this door. Huh? She looked at me warily. I ran out of the room and began to scour the mine in search of something suitable. The flashlight was about to die and, having blinked its last, it finally went out. I panicked and began to blunder around, trying to find a way back. However, I kept running into walls and couldn't remember at all how I got here. Masha! Masha! I screamed, hoping that she would hear me. Suddenly a sound came from behind me. A light appeared and my shadow appeared on the ground, stretching far off into the darkness. I was rooted to the spot by fear. Yeah, even if it is Lena, this is not gonna be good. I heard a seemingly familiar voice. Yeah, you hear the music. What's wrong, Samuel? Got lost? Ow! That's no fun! I slowly turned around and saw Lena holding a flaming torch in her hand. Her face was disfigured by an inhuman grin. I've come for you. This was the same Lena that I saw at the square last evening. The same as in Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. That was Lena, and at the same time, not Lena. This creature was more like those Ulyanas. I am coming for you. Who are you? I squeezed out. It's Lena. Don't you recognize me? She burst into devilish laughter. You completely forgot about me while having fun with them? Words stuck in my throat. It's alright. There is nobody left now. Just the two of us. So you did everything. Bingo. Not everything, of course. For a second her face became guilty, but then she grinned again. Slavia was first. She was always so annoying. She was a Miss Reliability. Diligent, hardworking, always everywhere, agreeing with everyone. Yuck. Boy did she scream when I was tearing off her arms out. It's a pity you didn't get to see it all. Her mouth began to tremble, her saliva dripped out of it, and her eyes rolled up. And then Alyssa. Everybody's annoying me, I don't need anyone. Now she's hanging peacefully alone on a tree. However, it wasn't easy to lift her up there, but it had much greater effects. How you all screamed, huh? Like pigs in a slaughterhouse. Lena's face was twisted by a grin of sick pleasure. Alright, that's that bitch Miku left to deal with, and then it's over. Well, I did not expect a machete to show up. She produced a giant cleaver covered with blood from behind her back. Well, actually, it seemed to me that she was lost in thought. I don't know what that crap in the form of Uliana was. Her and the other pioneers weren't killed by me. But does it really matter now? Oh, there are double stuff going on here. Yeah, the Uliana is a separate thing. One could expect that. That's bad. She shook the torch and it flared out in a second. Wait here. I will be quick. Her devilish laughter came from behind me. That means she went after Masha. I must do something quickly. But I have absolutely no idea which way to run. The darkness completely disoriented me. Screw it. I ran the way as soon Lena went. After only a short way, I painfully smashed into a wall. I turned around, trying to move slowly, but I stumbled over another obstacle, fell down and screamed in pain. Trying to rise, I realized that I couldn't put any weight on my left leg. Seems like I twisted it. I tried to crawl, but it worked out badly. The whole mine floor was covered with sharp stones, rusty nails and broken boards. After only a short way, my arms were torn to bleeding pieces of meat, and my eyes couldn't be opened because of the dust and sand. I fumbled in my pockets and pulled out a matchbox. I tried to light a match with my shaking hands, but couldn't get them to light. Calm down, I muttered. At last, after the 5th try, the mine was lightened by a dim light. I quickly oriented myself and worked out which way I had to run. It seemed to me that only a few seconds passed before I found myself in the room where I had left Masha. The last match went out, but I just had enough time to see Lena raising a cleaver above Masha. I rushed towards them, screaming, and dived forward. My hand suddenly collided with something. I fell to the ground and began smashing everything around me. Oh, that's bad, that's bad. I hit the mark, but then my hand met something soft. I heard a moan and dead silence set in. I rolled onto my back and started breathing heavily, inhaling the dry air greedily. So did you kill Masha or Elena? That's the question. Masha? I called. I heard quiet sobs. Are you still alive? Yes, she whispered. Did she get you? No. I began to fumble in the darkness and soon found a torch and a lighter. Shapeless shadows began to dance on the walls and I saw Lena's body sprawled on the floor. She seemed to be alive. I was going to finish her. Don't. Masha crawled right over to me and grabbed my leg. But we can't just... You don't need to. Of course, Lena wasn't to blame for everything. But she is the devil incarnate. There's no way we can let a human like her, if she can still be called human, live. But when I looked at Masha, I realized that I can't. I just can't. I took up the cleaver from the floor and twisted it in my hands. I decided that it would be the perfect crowbar. Going over to the door, I jammed it into the wheel and pulled on it as hard as I could. The door creaked and opened. Fresh air streamed into the room. We're saved. I returned to Masha, helped her get up and we left the room, leaving Lena lying unconscious. Beyond the door there was a short corridor with a ladder at the end of it, which led up to a grating. I climbed up and pulled on it with all my strength. The grating fell down with a crash and we climbed out. I fell to the grass, exhausted, and looked around. Again this square. Again this camp. The bright red dawn was breaking in the east, burning the tops of a distant forest. The last stars winked at me, unaware of everything that had happened here, in this hell. Masha rested her head on my shoulder and pointed up to the sky with a trembling hand. I wish we were there. Though we got out of a dungeon, nothing is over. Crowds of Zombulianas are wandering through the camp, and insane Lena is lying underneath, and heaven knows how much more devilry we will encounter here. I really want to sleep. I didn't know how to answer her, because I don't know where to run, don't know where we can be safe, don't know how to return to our world. Sleep. I patted Masha's head. Listen, this would make a great script for a film. She laughed out loud. I looked at her in horror. Masha was smiling, but her smile wasn't diabolical like the one of Lena's. It was pure, honest, maybe even childish. All their exhaustion had gone away and their eyes were shining with a cheerful spark. What happened to you? I could hardly speak. Everything is fine. She lay down on my shoulder again. That was the last scene. What does that mean? Suddenly I felt my strength leaving me. My vision darkened, my consciousness began to float away somewhere. I was lying in silence and only the sound of Masha's breath could be heard. Not the grasshoppers chirping, like all of them had died at last, but only Masha's steady breathing. And her smile. What? It's over? No? Yes? It's over? I struggled to open my eyes. It was a nightmare! Are you fucking with me? Bright moonlight reflected on the water, cheerfully skipping on the waves. A light night breeze was blowing and somewhere far away an owl was hooting. I looked at Masha who peacefully slept nearby, covered by my shirt. What a dream! My mobile phone dimly showed the time. 3 AM. We'd better go to bed, or tomorrow Olga Dmitrievna will make us... I just decided to wake Masha up, but suddenly I noticed an open script and a pen next to her. I quickly went through several pages and was horrified. It was completely identical to what had happened in my dream. Bile rose up in my throat and my eyes darkened. Masha rolled over, opened her eyes and looked at me. You awake? Did you write this? I asked, thick-tongued. Thick-tongued? Never heard that expression before. Yes. What's wrong? I didn't know how to answer. I just couldn't understand what was going on. I was sleeping so cutely that I didn't want to wake you up, and the grasshoppers were chirping so loudly, so She smiled. Wait, but we are here now. I mean, we're not pioneers. We are filming here and all that kind of stuff, aren't we? Yes, of course we are. Masha looked at me uncomprehendingly. Maybe I woke up, read what she wrote and then fell asleep again. You're drenched with sweat. She fumbled in the pockets of the pioneer uniform lying next to her and gave me a handkerchief. A typical Russian handkerchief embroidered with the colorful flowers. I took it up and suddenly felt a surge of warmth. The same warmth you feel when someone dear to your heart gives you a present. Shall we go? Masha started getting dressed. Yes. Let's go. I barely stood up and went down to the river. Cold water revived me and that dream stopped seeming so real. After all, it was just a dream, wasn't it? On our way back, Masha held my hand and chatted about everything non-stop. We came to the square. I hope those creatures will let me sleep at least tonight, she said thoughtfully. Who? The grasshoppers. Ah, yes. Yeah, that'd be great. Well, I'll go. She looked at me keenly, turned around and was about to leave. Wait. I grabbed her hand, pulled her towards me and kissed her hard. Because sometimes a dream is just a dream, and reality is reality. That seems to be the end of it. There it's darkening out. Ha! Every story has its beginning and its end. Every story has its own outline, synopsis, contents, key points, a prologue and an epilogue. And there is no book which, if you read it again, would not reveal new details you didn't notice before. Every story has its beginning and its end. Almost every. And that is finally the end of the Miku path. Well, it was all just a big epilogue with little to no options, actually no options for the path itself, for the ending. But yeah, it was all a big nightmare. That is suck as all hell, you know, from our point, from Semyon's point of view. But it does give me ideas for one-shot horror stories myself, you know, for when I want to play an RPG. Could be a lot of fun. And yeah, in the next few videos we're going to go through the game again, and that time we're going to go for the secret endings. Yeah, I know all about it. And it's going to be fun, it's going to be interesting. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and thank you Josef for donating directly to my Ko-fi page. If you guys want to help me out, you can do so by clicking the link down in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Goodbye everyone.